In a quaint village nestled between undulating hills and thick woodlands, there lived an inquisitive young boy named Leo. While most children his age were busy playing games or scaling trees, Leo found himself captivated by the night sky. Each evening, he would perch on the grassy slope behind his home, eyes wide with amazement as he gazed upward at the stars. His grandmother often joked that if he stared too long, he might drift away and become part of the constellations. One night, as Leo lay stretched out beneath the vast canopy of shimmering stars, something remarkable occurred. A blazing streak of light tore across the sky, growing larger and more radiant until it was evident this was no ordinary shooting star. A spacecraft was descending to Earth. It touched down gently in a nearby field, glowing faintly like a coal ember against the darkness. With his heart racing, more from exhilaration than fear, Leo leapt to his feet and sprinted toward it. At the edge of the clearing, a door slid open silently, revealing a figure enveloped in a silvery glow. She stepped out slowly, her movement elegant yet otherworldly. Her skin shimmered with tones of violet and gold, and her eyes held entire galaxies within, deep, swirling colors that seemed to whisper secrets of the cosmos. This was no ordinary being. She was a queen from a distant world, beyond anything Leo had ever dreamed of. He stood frozen, unsure whether to flee or stay. But his curiosity overshadowed his hesitation. He stepped forward gingerly, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers he had gathered earlier that day. "Hi," he said quietly, offering the blooms like a peace gesture. To his surprise, the queen smiled, a radiant grin that seemed to light up the field around them. She knelt to meet his gaze, her voice melodic and soothing, though it carried an unfamiliar rhythm. "You are courageous, little human," she said, brushing her fingers over the petals. "Few dare to approach what they do not comprehend." Leo felt warmth bloom in his chest, though he couldn't explain the sensation. There was something about her presence that made him feel at ease, despite how different she was from anything he had ever known. Without thinking, he asked, "Will you come back someday?" Her expression softened, and she tilted her head thoughtfully, as though giving his question serious consideration. "Perhaps," she answered gently, "but time moves differently where I come from. What feels like moments to you could be centuries for us." "I'll wait," Leo said with unexpected conviction, surprising even himself. "And when I grow up, I'll marry you." The queen laughed, not mockingly, but with sincere delight, and placed a delicate hand on his shoulder. "Such vows should not be made lightly," she said, her tone laced with amusement and something else, perhaps sorrow or nostalgia. "I mean it," Leo replied earnestly, drawing an imaginary X over his heart. "I promise." She regarded him a moment longer, then nodded solemnly. "Then I will hold you to your word, little human. When the time comes, we shall see if your promise endures." With that, she rose with grace and returned to her vessel. The door sealed behind her, and the craft lifted silently into the night, leaving only a faint hum and the crisp scent of ozone in its wake. Leo stood alone in the clearing long after she had vanished, clinging to the memory of her touch and the echo of her laughter. Later, tucked beneath his blankets, visions of lavender skies dancing through his dreams, Leo realized just how deeply the encounter had altered him. For the first time in his young life, he understood what it meant to long for something greater than himself. Years rolled by, and Leo grew older. Life pulled him in many directions: school, responsibilities, relationships, family duties. Yet no matter how hectic things became, the memory of the alien queen remained vivid, etched in his heart like a permanent mark. Other children eventually stopped believing in fairy tales, but Leo never did. To him, her story was no myth. It was a pledge, waiting to be fulfilled. As he stepped into adulthood, people began to notice something different about him. While his peers pursued fleeting romances and settled into ordinary routines, Leo carried an air of quiet distance. Friends joked that he was saving himself for someone extraordinary, not realizing how close they were to the truth. Even his parents voiced concern, urging him to focus on reality instead of childhood fantasies. But Leo couldn't let go. On tranquil nights when the world fell silent, he would return to that same hilltop and watch the stars, hoping for a sign. Occasionally, he glimpsed fleeting flashes of lavender among the constellations, but they always vanished before he could be certain. Determined to honor his vow, Leo chose to act. He enrolled in university to study astrophysics, pouring all his energy into uncovering the universe's secrets. His professors were astonished by his dedication, watching as he unraveled intricate equations with a passion akin to a painter chasing inspiration. Yet beneath the academic fervor was a deeper mission. He was trying to find her. If she truly existed among the stars, he would search every corner of the cosmos to reach her again. The road wasn't easy. Countless nights were spent bent over textbooks, jotting down notes and crafting theories into the early hours. Financial burdens weighed on him, and he took part-time jobs to support his education. Still, he never wavered. As doubt crept into his mind, Leo recalled her words. "When the moment arrives, we shall see if your vow remains true." One pivotal summer during an internship at a renowned observatory, Leo came across something astonishing. While examining data from a remote nebula, he detected patterns that defied standard scientific interpretations. These weren't random anomalies. They were deliberate, rhythmic, and meticulously organized. It was as though an intelligence was attempting to communicate across the cosmic expanse. Filled with exhilaration, he threw himself entirely into deciphering the enigmatic message. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Just as exhaustion threatened to consume him, he finally cracked the code. It revealed coordinates pointing to a specific sector of the universe, eerily familiar to him from the night he met her. Could it be? Could this be the path back to her? Fueled by this breakthrough, Leo presented his findings to Dr. Elena Marquez, a celebrated astrophysicist known for her pioneering work on alien life forms. Although initially doubtful, Dr. Marquez listened with rapt attention. Leo's enthusiasm and certainty were contagious. By the end of their meeting, she promised to help him secure funding for a full-scale investigation. News of Leo's discovery spread like wildfire throughout the scientific world. The endeavor, dubbed Project Horizon, captivated imaginations globally. Support poured in from governments, private institutions, and hopeful visionaries. For the first time in history, humanity was united in its pursuit of the unknown. Yet amidst the buzz and media frenzy, Leo kept one truth hidden: the promise he'd made as a child. To the world, he was merely a brilliant young scientist driven by curiosity. But in his heart, he knew this mission was about something much deeper: honor, love, and a pledge whispered beneath a canopy of stars. The long-awaited day arrived. Leo stood aboard the spacecraft, destined for the coordinates hidden within the signal. Around him, the hum of high-tech systems mingled with the chatter of a skilled and eager crew, all of whom had trained rigorously for this journey. Despite the pressure of worldwide expectations, Leo felt an unshakable calm settle over him. After years of preparation, he was finally ready. As the countdown echoed through the cabin, his thoughts drifted. He pictured his parents, proud and tearful at his departure. He remembered Dr. Marquez, whose belief in his dream made all of this possible. Most of all, he thought of her, the alien queen, whose presence had inspired every step of his path. With a thunderous blast, the engines roared to life, lifting the ship from Earth's surface. Gravity pressed heavily against his body until the vastness of space swallowed the blue sky. As the ship stabilized, Leo floated in zero gravity, gazing through the window at the shrinking image of Earth. So delicate and radiant, a shimmering blue marble adrift in an endless ocean. Weeks passed as the spacecraft voyaged farther than any human had traveled before. Along the way, the crew encountered strange cosmic phenomena: luminescent auroras shimmering in the void, star clusters aligned in mesmerizing geometries, and regions where time itself seemed to warp. Each new wonder brought them closer to their destination. At last, they arrived. Floating in the dark expanse was an enormous structure, an alien palace crafted entirely from translucent crystalline material. Light refracted through its walls in vibrant rainbows. The entire edifice pulsed gently, as though alive, emitting a hum that resonated deep within Leo's soul. "This can't be real," whispered one of the engineers, her voice thick with awe. Leo didn't hear her. His eyes were locked on the palace. His heart pounded wildly in his chest. Deep inside, he felt certain. She was here, the queen, the one he had never forgotten. As the ship gently docked, Leo prepared to step onto the surface. Tucked in his pocket was a small velvet box. Inside it rested a ring, one he had crafted by hand, made from fragments of fallen meteorites and inlaid with minuscule diamonds that glittered like stars. It wasn't perfect, not by the standards of her world, but it embodied the entirety of his unwavering devotion. He stepped out. Alien terrain crunched beneath his boots as a surge of emotions coursed through him: fear, excitement, and most of all, hope. Before him stood a massive doorway, its surface etched with ever-shifting symbols. As he reached out to touch it, the door slid open soundlessly, revealing a corridor bathed in soft celestial light. And then he saw her. She stood at the far end of the passageway, glowing with radiant energy. Time had not diminished her beauty. If anything, she looked even more majestic, more unearthly than he remembered. Her eyes held entire galaxies within them. Their eyes locked, and for a heartbeat, neither of them moved. "Little one," she said at last, her voice carrying the same melodic resonance he remembered from years ago. "You have come back." Leo swallowed hard, emotion tightening his throat. "I told you I would," he said, cautiously stepping forward. "And I brought this." He opened the velvet box, revealing the ring inside. For a moment, the queen simply observed him, her face unreadable. Then, gracefully, she walked toward him, each step deliberate. When she reached him, she extended her hand, allowing him to slide the ring onto her finger. "It is one of a kind," she said, studying it with interest. "A piece crafted from two worlds." Leo nodded, a wave of relief washing over him. "I made it for you, to prove that my promise wasn't empty words. I meant it." The queen gave a faint smile, though a hint of sorrow flickered in her gaze. "Do you truly understand what you're asking, little one? To bind yourself to someone like me is no trivial matter. My existence surpasses the limits of your reality." "I don't care," Leo replied with conviction. "I've waited my entire life for this. Whatever comes next, I'll face it, as long as you're with me." Her gaze softened, and for a fleeting second, he thought he saw tears glisten in her eyes. But before she could respond, a deep rumble echoed through the palace, trembling the very ground. The walls began to shimmer and distort, as if reality itself was coming undone. "What's going on?" Leo asked, gripping her hand tightly. "Our meeting has disrupted the equilibrium between our realms," the queen said, her voice now edged with urgency. Before Leo could comprehend the full weight of her words, the corridor dissolved into a whirlwind of swirling colors, pulling them into a realm unknown. Clinging to her hand with all his strength, Leo was swept into a vortex of light and sound. Colors twisted around them violently as they sped through what felt like an endless tunnel. Time bent and stretched, each moment feeling both infinite and instant. "Where are we going?" Leo shouted over the thunderous roar. "To a realm between realities," the queen answered, her tone calm despite the chaos. "A threshold where our worlds intersect." Leo wanted to ask more, but the force of their journey was too overwhelming to focus on anything but holding on. His thoughts spiraled. Was this the end? Had his vow doomed them both? Or was this the final trial before they could truly be united? The storm finally slowed, the noise fading into an uncanny calm. When Leo opened his eyes, he stood in a dreamlike realm unlike anything he'd imagined. The ground shimmered beneath him like liquid silver, rippling gently as if it were alive. Above, the sky was a seamless blend of lavender, gold, and deep indigo. In the distance, bizarre crystalline towers pierced the horizon, casting radiant reflections. "This place is breathtaking," Leo whispered. "It is the threshold," the queen replied softly. "Here, time and space lose their meaning. We must choose our path." Leo turned to face her, heart pounding. "What do you mean, choose? I thought being here meant I could keep my promise." She looked into his eyes, her gaze filled with emotion that threatened to overwhelm him. "Your promise connects us, little one, but it also disrupts the balance. My existence is intertwined with the well-being of my world. If I leave this space with you, I may endanger everything I am meant to protect." Leo felt a cold knot form in his stomach. He had known this journey wouldn't be easy, but not like this. A choice between love and responsibility. For years, he had dreamed of finding her again, proving that his childhood vow wasn't fantasy, but truth. Now, the gravity of that promise came crashing down. "But isn't there another way?" he asked, desperation lacing his voice. "Can't we find a way to remain true to ourselves without having to give up everything?" The queen hesitated, her eyes drifting to the distant crystalline peaks. "There might be a way," she said quietly. After a long silence, she finally spoke, her voice grave. "But it will demand a tremendous sacrifice, not only from me, but from you as well." Leo's voice quivered as he asked, "What kind of sacrifice?" "You would need to relinquish your humanity," she replied, her tone heavy with significance. "To exist within my realm, you must become something entirely different. Your body, your mind, your very being would undergo a transformation. You would no longer wholly belong to Earth, nor to yourself." Leo stood frozen, overwhelmed by the weight of her words. Giving up his humanity, forsaking everything familiar, was a cost he had never imagined. Yet despite the fear curling in his chest, one truth rang clear. He couldn't retreat now. Not after all he had endured. Not with her standing right in front of him. "I'll do it," he said firmly, even surprising himself with the strength in his voice. "If that's the price of being with you, I'll pay it." The queen's features softened, though sorrow still lingered in her gaze. "You don't fully comprehend what you're committing to," she warned. "This transformation will alter you in ways beyond your current understanding. Are you truly ready to leave behind everything you've ever known?" Leo didn't waver. "I've already let go of everything to get here. My entire life has led to this moment. I won't back down now." For a heartbeat, she simply watched him, her expression unreadable. Then, gently, she placed a hand over his heart. A warmth spread through his chest, followed instantly by a sharp, searing pain that knocked the breath from his lungs. He dropped to his knees as energy surged through him, reshaping every part of him from within. Through the veil of pain, Leo caught glimpses of his reflection on the shimmering surface below. His skin emitted a soft glow, now tinged with the same lavender hue as hers. His fingers grew longer, more refined, almost otherworldly. Even his consciousness began to evolve, expanding beyond the limits of his former human mind. It felt like shedding layers of who he once was, making space for something new to emerge. When the metamorphosis at last subsided, Leo struggled to stand. His legs were unsteady, unfamiliar. Looking at his hands, he marveled at how transformed, yet somehow still inherently his, they were. Turning to face her, he saw tears sliding down the queen's cheeks, though a smile glimmered through them. "You've done it," she whispered. "You've crossed the threshold." Before he could answer, the world around them began shifting again. The once liquid ground solidified into smooth, radiant stone. The crystalline spires stretched higher, forming majestic walls that enclosed them within a grand hall. At the chamber's center stood a glowing throne, carved from translucent material and casting rainbow hues across the space. "This is my court," the queen said, gesturing around them. "Here you shall stand at my side, as my equal, my consort, my king." Leo's heart brimmed with wonder, gratitude, and a trace of unease. He had embraced the change willingly, yet a sliver of doubt persisted. What did it truly mean to co-rule an alien realm? Could he truly adapt to this foreign existence? And most crucially, would he be able to honor the promise he had made all those years ago? Sensing his uncertainty, the queen stepped forward and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You are not alone," she said gently. "We will face whatever comes, together, as we were always meant to." Her touch grounded him, bringing clarity to the purpose behind his journey. Whatever challenges the future held, he no longer had to face them in isolation. Together, they would carve out a path that connected two worlds, challenging the limits of what anyone thought possible. But just as Leo began to embrace his new destiny, the chamber trembled violently. Cracks spiderwebbed across the polished walls, and the glowing throne flickered, its light faltering with every pulse. Startled, Leo turned to the queen. "What's going on?" he asked, a rising panic in his voice. Her expression darkened. For the first time since they had reunited, she looked truly afraid. "Something is terribly wrong," she said gravely. "The balance has been disturbed, not just here, but throughout all existence. Our union has stirred forces beyond our current understanding." Before Leo could inquire further, the atmosphere around them thickened, heavy with an energy that caused his newly altered form to ache. Shadows began to slither into the chamber, twisting and writhing like sentient beings. From within the gloom, towering, ominous figures emerged, their glowing crimson eyes fixed on Leo and the queen with a predatory focus. "They have arrived," the queen murmured, her voice shaking. "The guardians of the threshold." Instinctively, Leo moved to shield her, although he had no clue how to combat these entities or if he even could. "Who are they?" he whispered, barely audible over the rising cacophony of the shadows. They are the custodians of balance, she explained hurriedly. They will stop at nothing to undo what we have done, to sever the link between us and restore equilibrium. As the shadowy silhouettes advanced, Leo felt a surge of resolve flood through him. Though he didn't fully grasp this new realm or his role within it, one fact was undeniable. He wouldn't allow anything to separate him from her again. "We will fight," he declared, gripping her hand firmly. The queen met his gaze, her fear melting into fierce determination. "Then let us demonstrate the strength of a promise honored," she proclaimed, her voice resonating with authority. With that, she raised her free hand, summoning a burst of luminous energy that bathed the chamber in radiant light, momentarily driving the shadows back. Leo felt a similar force stirring within him, responding to her call. Side by side, they prepared to confront whatever was coming, united by a bond stronger than any power in the cosmos. Amidst the turmoil and uncertainty, Leo and the Queen stood poised to defend not only their love, but also the delicate balance of two worlds precariously intertwined. The shadowy guardians loomed nearer, their burning red eyes ablaze with relentless intensity. The air vibrated with tension as Leo and the Queen stood shoulder to shoulder, their hands tightly clasped. Though apprehension lingered at the edges of Leo's mind, a peculiar calm settled over him, a quiet assurance that came from knowing he was not alone. "We can overcome this," Leo said firmly, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "Together." The Queen nodded, her expression unwavering. "Trust me, little human, and trust yourself. You possess greater strength than you realize." With those words, she lifted both arms above her head, summoning a dazzling wave of energy that exploded like a supernova. Streams of golden light radiated outward, illuminating every corner of the chamber and forcing the shadows into retreat. Inspired by her display, Leo closed his eyes and concentrated on the newfound power within, the core of his transformed self. He could feel it pulsing in sync with his heartbeat, a brilliant force yearning to be unleashed. Guided by instinct, Leo extended his arms, channeling energy through his fingertips. To his amazement, beams of shimmering lavender light burst forth, intertwining seamlessly with the Queen's golden streams. Together, they forged a protective shield between themselves and the advancing darkness, its surface undulating like liquid starlight. The Guardians hesitated briefly, their forms flickering uncertainly, caught off guard by the unity of their adversary's power. But with a deafening roar, they surged forward again, claws striking the barrier with savage determination. "They're testing us," the Queen shouted over the din. "We must hold steady." Leo gritted his teeth, pouring every ounce of his strength into sustaining the shield. Exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him, but he refused to falter. Not when so much was at stake. As the battle raged on, something extraordinary began to unfold. The combined energies of Leo and the Queen harmonized, creating a symphony of light and sound that filled the chamber with a nearly divine presence. The shadows recoiled, their threatening forms dissolving under the relentless onslaught of pure, united energy. One by one, the Guardians crumbled into nothingness, their anguished cries fading until only the hum of the barrier remained. When the final shadow vanished, silence fell over the chamber. Leo lowered his arms, breathing heavily as the toll of the fight weighed upon him. Beside him, the Queen swayed slightly, her majestic posture softened by fatigue. For a long moment, neither spoke. They simply stood, basking in the aftermath of their victory. "It is over," the Queen whispered, breaking the silence. Her voice held a note of awe, as if she could scarcely believe their triumph. "You have saved us both." Leo turned to her, his heart swelling with emotion. "No," he gently corrected. "We saved each other." A tender smile spread across her face as she reached out to cup his cheek. "You truly are extraordinary, little human. No one else could have endured what you just faced. For me, for us." Before Leo could reply, the chamber began to transform. The fractures in the walls mended themselves, and the once dim throne radiated brighter than ever, casting a warm, welcoming glow throughout the room. Even the atmosphere felt lighter, imbued with a renewed sense of hope and vitality. "What's happening now?" Leo asked, looking around in amazement. "The balance has shifted," the Queen explained, her voice filled with awe. "Your bravery and sacrifice have proven that love, true love, is not a disruption to the natural order. It is a force that strengthens and upholds it." As she spoke, the crystalline structures encircling them emitted a gentle hum, resonating with the same harmonious energy that had defeated the Guardians. The entire space seemed alive, vibrating with joy and acceptance. Does this mean? Leo hesitated, uncertain how to complete his question. The Queen nodded, her smile broadening. Yes, we are free to be together, to rule as equals without fear of consequence. Your promise has been fulfilled, not just in words, but in spirit. Tears welled in Leo's eyes as the gravity of her words settled upon him. All the years of yearning, all the sacrifices he had made, had led to this very moment. He pulled her close, embracing her tightly as waves of relief and joy washed over him. I never thought I'd live to see this day, he murmured against her shoulder. I was so afraid I'd lose you again. You will never lose me, she vowed, her voice thick with emotion. Not now, not ever. From this day forward, we will write our story together, a tale of two worlds united by love. Overwhelmed by the magnitude of their journey, Leo couldn't help but laugh, a deep, joyful sound that echoed through the chamber. When he looked back at her, he saw tears glistening in her galaxy-like eyes, reflecting the ones running down his own cheeks. And what about Earth? He asked suddenly, recalling the world he had left behind. Will I ever see it again? The Queen tilted her head thoughtfully. Our bond transcends all boundaries, my love. You may return whenever you wish, but know this. Earth will always be a part of who you are. And perhaps in time, our worlds will draw closer, learning from one another and building bridges where none existed before. Leo nodded, a profound sense of peace washing over him. He hadn't realized it until now, but leaving Earth didn't mean abandoning it. Instead, he would carry its memories, its lessons, and its people with him wherever he journeyed, sharing its beauty with the alien realm he now called home. With that understanding, the Queen took his hand and guided him toward the radiant throne. As they climbed the steps together, the chamber erupted, not with human applause, but from the very walls and crystals themselves, resonating in approval and celebration. This is our beginning, the Queen proclaimed, her voice ringing with warmth and authority. A new era for both our peoples, a testament to the power of love and unity. Standing beside her, Leo felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. No longer was he merely a boy who gazed at the stars. He was a king, a partner, and a bridge between worlds. Together, he and the Queen would lead their people toward a future filled with limitless possibilities. And as they faced their subjects, both human and alien, Leo knew one truth with absolute certainty. Their love had transformed everything. It had defied logic, transcended barriers, and rewritten the very laws of existence. In that moment, surrounded by light and hope, Leo understood that happy endings were not just the stuff of fairy tales. They belonged to those brave enough to dream, to fight, and to believe, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Hand in hand, Leo and the Queen stepped into their shared destiny, ready to forge a legacy that would shine brighter than any star.